Prying parents of Reddit. What secret of your child did you discover that made you wish you hadn't? When I was early in my teens we didn't yet have a computer or the internet, but we did have Cinemax, and my friend Doug introduced me to late night movies on the weekends. I never got caught with that, but as a teenager who read comics and was now fully aware of female anatomy, I would try to draw pictures of Rogue or Jean Grey naked. I used to hide them either inside comics or between my mattress and box spring. I never considered that my mom would one day change my sheets. She told me she was disappointed with me for drawing the pictures but impressed with the artwork, so she put it in her hope chest with all my other crap she was proud of. I was embarrassed then, but now in my 30s it's nice to know my mom cared that much. Not my kid, but a younger cousin, 16. I was asked by his computer illiterate parents to fix his laptop. As it turns out his browser was full of younger boy older guy p. I even found a dating profile where he was looking for much older men. His entire half of the family is very redneck and homophobic, so I cleared his history. When I gave him his computer back, I showed him how to use private browsing. I then apologized for what I was about to say but felt obligated, then explained to be careful looking for anyone so much older as it wasn't legal for a couple years yet, and due to this he may be finding some real creepers. I then spent the next 4 years correcting his family and calling them out over their homophobic comments. Played the long game with changing their opinions. My cousin just married his boyfriend and his entire family except for one uncle showed. First time I teared up at a wedding. My friend and I made a prank video for my girlfriend in high school on one of those original flip disposable video camera things. The prank was us sitting on my bed saying one line of dialogue. I hope GF never finds out about us, then we pretend to kiss as the video falls to the floor. Now you can only hear us moaning for a minute. Anyways, as funny ideas go, we forgot about it and never let my GF find the video. Fast forward about 6 months and my dad comes into my room shaking, red-faced, holding the camera. WTF is this? I can't believe you did this in my home. You're never allowed to see Tim, my friend, again. I was so scared and hurt that my only response was, you can't tell me to never see him again. He's my best friend. I do everything with him. I was so flustered that I never even told my dad I wasn't gay. He might still think I'm gay. Maybe I am. I missed him. Not a parent but a child. When I was 8 and in the 2nd grade we had a project involving me having to look my address up online. I barely knew how the internet worked, and this was a time before all the censoring of P from the first page of search engines. My district was Cooming, and so one of the things I clicked on was a video a man going to Pound Town on a scrotum. I had no idea what I was looking at, couldn't even tell it was human, but my mom walked in only to find 8-year-old me mesmerized by this bouncing ballsack on the screen. Judging by her calm reaction, I think she realized that it was an innocent mistake, but I can imagine the thoughts that went in rapid succession through her head in that moment. Back 5 or 6 years ago, my mom got an iPad and it was the treasure of the household. She didn't let anybody use it but always kept in her room on a charger, mostly because she's technologically inept. One day my 7-year-old brother was secretly playing Candy Crush on it when he heard my mom coming up the stairs. Not wanting to get caught with the iPad, he put it back on her nightstand plugged in and hid under the bed. What he failed to notice at the time was that not only was my mom coming up the steps, but my dad also. My dad at the time was close to 300 pounds. Since then he's lost over 55 lbs. They open the door, jump on the bed, and proceed to do it with my little brother under the bed. Due to the weight of my dad and mom on the bed, his head was slammed into the ground with every thrust. Poor kid had to endure that for several minutes, and had to wait for the two of them to go to the bathroom so he could make his escape. He doesn't like to talk about it to this day, and I don't think he's told my parents about that. All he wanted was to play some Candy Crush. Used to torrent P because that was all I knew to do. One day I open my torrent client and see it already downloading several bestiality vids. I assume it's just the client being spammy and gross, so I delete the files and proceed onto my vanilla fake tittied multi-gig downloads. The next day my dad sits me down and says I should watch out for the upstairs computer because it has been acting up or something. Says he is aware it has downloaded some gross stuff, but he immediately says he knows it wasn't me. His confidence that it wasn't me surprises me, and that's when I realize it was his. I guess he saw that somebody deleted the files and panics thinking that I was judging him. So he had to come up with a story about how the computer does that stuff on its own so I would know it wasn't him. If he hadn't said anything, that's what I would have assumed. This one is a fricked up one. Brother 1 told my mom that he has been using Brother 2's computer to download music. This is the era of Limuan, maybe 2007, and saw that Brother 2 had literally thousands of CP stuff on his computer. My brothers were in their early 20s. My mom checked Brother 2's computer and confirms that her child is downloading CP. What does she do? Nothing. She even bought Brother 2 another laptop when his became unusable due to the amount of viruses and malware. 2 years ago, the feds raided my mother's house. Plot twist, they were there for Brother 1. He started to download CP. She now has the honor of having both of her sons in prison and as S-offenders. Of course she makes it all about herself. It's a shame. Brother 1 was the one who was supposed to make it. Not even really prying, but came home from work early one day and heard the shower running in the bathroom my 17-year-old son uses. Then heard some decidedly loud sounds of enjoyment from a female. Figuring none of wanted to deal with the embarrassment of an interruption, I retreated to the living room. About 15 minutes later my son and his girlfriend come downstairs and are quite surprised to see me already home. Figuring this would be a good time to twist the knife a little, I said, "So, what were you guys up to in the bathroom? Together?" My son stammered out, "Well, we had been in the pool and wanted to wash off the chlorine and we were in a hurry so we went in together, but we kept our bathing suits on." Then his girlfriend looked at him like he was the world's biggest idiot and said, "That's what you're going to go with?" He looked at her and said, "Yep, that's what happened." She looked at me and said, "Okay, we're going with his story." I told them it sounded reasonable. My kids aren't quite old enough to ruin my view of their innocence yet, but when I was a kid my grandma found my rather hefty pee stash under the bathroom counter one day while cleaning. Had my own small bathroom at the time. Got really embarrassed about it until I realized that she just straightened them out into a neat stack and never said a word about it to me to this day. Heck of an old lady. My grandmother found handcuffs and whips in my underwear drawer. She referred to it as interesting. This is the same lady that, as I was weed eating her yard years earlier, came out of the house to let me know that jacking off was cheaper than getting someone pregnant. When I was about 15 in the throes of puberty we were going to the doctor and for my little buddy apparently that was enough to elicit a response. Well, I was trying to cover it up and my mom would not stop asking what was in my pocket so I gave up and just said it's my dong mom. Happy she was very quiet after that. My brother was trying to print out some trans pee pictures once, and the printer wasn't working. When my dad turned the computer on the next day, the picture immediately printed. My daughter came home one evening smelling a bit like weed. I went through her room the next day while she was in school. I wanted to pinch a joint. I didn't find any weed, but I did find a butt plug in a used condition. I discovered that my son at the age of 13 was dealing pot at his middle school after he stole a scale from the science teacher to weigh some drugs he thought he was getting cheated on. Yet, he got expelled for 1 year in addition to legal ramifications. He's 21 now and doing well. Not quite the question you asked, but my mum did find a letter I wrote to my BF before the days of internet and texting, where I described how I was going to give him a blowjob. Couldn't look her in the eye for weeks. Even tried to pass it off as English homework. I was 14 at the time. 2 decades later I still cringe when I remember it. My nephew paid for pee with my credit card. I mean Pornhub and RedTube exist, man. Honestly, I'd be more angry that he paid for pee in the first place. My wife and I are both retired, so we volunteered to house sit when my son, his wife and their 3 kids spent 6 weeks in Europe last summer. We discovered their video collection and were surprised to find their favorite pastime seems to be hosting gangbangs with my dill as the center of attention while our son films the action. We were floored but never said a word or let on in any way. They're both great people, loving parents and responsible professionals with great careers, and we're not going to let this kink change our opinion of them in any way. But we do kind of giggle and snicker to ourselves now when they ask us to have the grandkids over for the weekend. Not a parent, but when I was about 15 and in the process of fapping, my mom came into my room without knocking. I was so shocked and at a loss for words. All I could say in reaction was, "I'm just checking if it works." Not sure how that could have changed the situation in any way. Needless to say, she always knocked before coming into my room after that little incident. Not really the prying type, but grabbed my 9-year-old daughter's tablet to show her how to get to her Gmail inbox using her web browser. Her email client was misbehaving. There were like 7 open tabs of pee, and her web search history had a boys peeing search. Shocked me and the wife. She's 9. That was when we decided it was time for a bit of anatomical and reproduction info, which, of course, fell to me. My wife was thoroughly incapable. As a prying child looking for confiscated video games, I discovered my mom hides my Game Boy way better than she hides her strap-on. Not exactly what OP is asking for, but similar situation to many of the comments. I was a teenager, maybe 15 or 16, and we had satellite TV. This was back when the Playboy channel was a thing. Anyway, it was around 2 AM in the summer and everyone is asleep, so I thought, my parents are only 20 years older than me, so they were quite young. I go to the Playboy channel and it asks me for the passcode. Apparently my dad already had a subscription, so I'm sitting there trying to figure out the passcode and my dad comes down the hall to get a glass of water and catches me trying to figure out the code. He looks at the TV and casually says, "Your mom's birthday is coming up soon." Puzzled, I replied, "But Dad, it's the middle of the summer. Oh, Mom's birthday is in December. Thanks for the passcode, Dad." My mum found 14-year-old me stash of anime catgirl pinups. Fortunately no hardcore P because we'd only had a computer like, 6 months at that point? YouTube search history, mainly teen and teacher P. I mean, YouTube? Wasn't my child, but I used to work in a phone shop and I was transferring this kid's photos to his new phone. It was the first of that model I sold and little did I know it had a pre-installed app that showed a gallery on the second homepage after you swiped right. I was explaining how to use it and the default image the gallery function decided to select was a fully frontal nude photo of this poor kid's junk. Frankly, I didn't know where to look. He must have only been 13, maybe 14. I tried to subtly shift the phone away from his mum, but she had already seen it. He got an absolute public telling off in the middle of the store. Went on for some time while I was just awkwardly holding this phone with a photo of this kid's dong. Ah, good times. You get to see some interesting things on people's phones. My mom was going to take my brother's vehicle to get the brakes fixed. She noticed he had a disposable camera on the front passenger seat that was full and had one of her own to take in for development, so she picked it up and dropped it off at the local photo place for development. She sent her assistant to pick them up later that afternoon. Boy, did the assistant and my mom get an eyeful. My brother had been at a country music festival up in northern Minnesota the previous weekend and the entire camera was full of my college-age brother getting a BJ from a woman who was about my mom's age. I wasn't prying, but I did see my daughter's Facebook post to her best friends about when she lost her virginity. She didn't mean to make it public, and shortly after I saw it she either changed it to a more private setting or she deleted it. And no, I didn't say anything to her about it. My 7 years old at the time, Google search history said big bouncy boobs. I was proud. His mom was devastated. My mum went into my MSN chat logs when I went to go live with my dad. I was not a savvy rebel, forgot to check don't save, and found all my cybering. I was like 14. She said it was way worse than the I hate my parents type of stuff. My 5-year-old daughter was riding in the backseat auto-bubbling away. Eventually she said, "Daddy, I don't think you know this, but when I was young, I used to pick up little bits of things off the floor and put them in my mouth." "Really? What kind of things, sweetie?" "Pieces of paper, fuzzies, things like that." A thoughtful look crossed her face, like she was trying to make a really difficult decision that would determine her fate. Finally she settled on honesty, and I definitely ate a flower once. Not parent, not the kid in question. Probably worse though. Media class, make group YouTube account. 3 of us share a YouTube account. Me 15, her 16. Her female friend 16, her younger brother 11. See where this is going? We go to her house to film. She stays logged into YouTube on her home PC. Fast forward few weeks later in class. Searching YouTube cloud history whilst connected to Projector. Multiple and repeated 11-year-old girls in white panties video and search variations almost daily. Girl assume it's me and that I've been stealing her underwear whilst at her house. Not fun. Rumors spread. Teachers got involved. I denied everything. Got suspended. Threatened with being expelled. Ended up in counseling. Got billed for underwear I didn't steal too. Ended up leaving school few months later. All because that little crap hadn't discovered Pornhub. I was probably 11 or 12, maybe younger at the time, and recently discovered the wonderful miracle that is jerking it. I had a bunk bed and got naked under the covers to do my thing when my door opens up and in walks my dad, just looking to hang out and see what I'm doing. I didn't know how to respond, and he sees that I'm covered from the neck down. So he thinks I'm trying to hide something, and so ensues him laughing, trying to get me to show him what it is, and I nearly have a heart attack trying to stay covered. He soon realizes what's going on and says, "Oh," and walks out. My dad's a pastor. Super embarrassing at the time, but not the only time I've been caught since. My friend's dad walks into him watching P and he accidentally clicked a gay P advertisement. His dad awkwardly closed the door and will forever think his son is secretly gay. Accidentally. This is about parents, but I don't know when else I'll get to tell. One time in high school I came home on a night where I had said I would be staying at a friend's. Walked into the living room to see a porno on the 50-inch TV screen. But they weren't even watching. They were just chillin' and playing cards on the coffee table while a girl blew some guy in the background. I just go in the window or make ridiculous amounts of noise when I come in nowadays. They were probably waiting for the other couples to show up. Not a prying parent, but I am a nosy son. I went through my mom's phone once in my entire life and I've regretted it since. When I was about 10 YO, I was on my mom's phone and looked at her text messages with my dad. She asked him if he wanted her to bring anything home for dinner and he replied P. Never touched my parents' phone since. That my then 14-year-old stepdaughter had a thing for anime P. I mean, hey, do your Naruto and Pikachu thing. But dang, you're the daughter of two IT parents. Delete your browser history. This is a gold SpongeGar. It only appears once every 1 million SpongeGar memes, like in 5 seconds or bad luck. Thanks for watching. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day, you magnificent people.